Hi guys, today I am sharing with you my full face, soft, lightweight, glam summer makeup routine. I'm creating this look today and I will show you all the steps that I'm using for this. I start off with a lip primer as a first step. It takes some time to soften the lips, so I usually go in with this first so that it has time to work its magic. Then I go in with a silicone primer. I like using a silicone primer in the summer. It feels like it just keeps me a little less oily throughout the summer and it really smooths out the skin, especially this one. This is my favorite, the Maybelline Baby Skin Instant Pore Eraser. I like using that to blur everything out and getting my skin very smooth over the summer. I mix the tinted hydrator from Wet n Wild with the Maybelline Matte and Poreless foundation. This gives me a very smooth and poreless look, but it's not as heavy as a normal foundation. It's a bit more lightweight, so you can wear it all day and not feel like you're wearing a very heavy mask of makeup. And I really like the way this combination gives me a very natural yet smooth and blurred out look on my face. I start off with a makeup brush and I just blend everything out, and when I'm happy with the coverage that I've created on my face, then I swap over to a damp makeup sponge. So I use the Wet n Wild one. It's one of my favorite sponges. I just damp it with some setting spray. I use my own homemade setting spray, but you can use any setting spray for that. Or if you don't want to waste your setting spray, just damp it with a bit of water. Then I set my face with the Hourglass Veil Translucent Powder. What I really like about this powder is it doesn't look powdery on your face. It melts into your foundation, so it looks very natural and you still get a full set face without looking powdery. I then contour my face with the Fenty Amber contour stick. It's a perfect contour color for my skin tone. I like a cool tone contour and I really struggle to get a cool tone contour that's just the right shade, and I feel like this one is perfect for creating some depth and just shaping your face, especially for my skin tone. When a contour shade is too warm, it looks more like a bronzer on my skin. So I like to use a cool tone contour and then go in with a bit of a warmer bronzer afterwards later. I just blend out everything well into the hairline and blend upwards on the cheeks. So just basically an outwards and upwards blend, just to make sure that you don't drag your face down, but rather lift it up. I also like contouring my nose with a stick. It works very easily. It blends out so smoothly and it just creates the right amount of contour without looking like brown makeup on your face. I like adding a cream blush as a base blush layer. I use the Pat McGrath Labs Divine Blush, mostly in the color Divine Rose, but when I'm in a mood for a bit of a warmer undertone, I use Paradise Peony. So I start off with a cream blush like this one, and then later I'm going to top it off with a powder blush, but it just makes my blush last all day when I do it like that. Next I go in with the elephant powder and I bronze my cheeks and my forehead and the top of my nose. I really love this bronzer color. It's one of my favorite bronzer shades. It's a nice warm bronzer color without being red. Then I go in with the blushes. I usually just mix the two blush shades. It gives a very nice, healthy, glowy blush without being glittery. And then this Dior highlighter is one of my all-time favorite highlighters. I would highly, highly recommend it to anyone who wants to create a natural highlighting effect without having it look like a layer of shimmer that you added on your face. It's really one of my most used highlighter products ever. I just mix the colors depending on where I want a bit more depth and a bit more brightness. And then I go back to the elephant palette and I mix the two finishing powders and just blend that all over my face. I feel like this combination gives the most beautiful glow to your skin without looking shimmery, and it really melts all the face products that you've added so beautifully together. And it looks so natural and so beautiful and so glowy, and this is one of my most important steps for a nice, healthy summer glowy look. This is my ultimate favorite concealer. It's the Born This Way Multi-Sculpting Concealer in the color Vanilla. And I really just add a little bit under the eyes. I feel like with dry under eyes like mine, less is more. And I just really place enough to create some coverage where I need it. And then I softly blend out the rest. This is a very important step for when you have very mature under eyes or very dry under eyes, not to go in too heavy-handedly with your concealer. Next, I set it with the Laura Mercier Under Eye Brightening Powder. I've been using this one for years and it really goes a long way. I just use the tiniest amount and then I tap it off so that I can just place enough under the eyes to set the under eyes without creating a dry under eye look. And what I like about this powder is it has light reflecting particles that really brightens the under eyes. I like using the Express Brow Pencil from Maybelline. It's a nice thin brow pencil, so you can easily create hair-like strokes on your brows. I also like using the LA Girl Shady Slim Brow Pencil. It's a very nice formula. And I also really love the Benefits Cosmetics thin brow pencil. They also have a very thin one. Those are my favorite brands for doing the brows. I just try to semi-line the outsides of my brows with the brow pencil, and then I just fill the empty sparse areas with hair-like strokes and just make sure everything is covered that needs to be covered. After my initial application, I just brush through my brows and just fill out any parts that I might have missed or just still look a little empty. I really have difficulty with my brows because I do have scarring in one of my brows. So getting my brows perfect is really tricky for me. I set my brows with a Benefits 24 Brow Setter Gel. It's one of my favorite brow setter gels. I don't like using a colored brow setter gel. It tends to look clumpy on my brows. I prefer using a clear brow gel. Next, I create a base for my eyeshadow. I usually use a concealer like the Born This Way Multi-Sculpting Concealer. I use the color Vanilla. This is my go-to for under eye concealer as well as a base, but I also like using different primers like the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer or the Milani eyeshadow primer. With the concealers, I do sometimes need to set the concealer with a powder so that it doesn't crease in the deep ends of my eye crease. I just really blend that out, and in this case I set it with the Hourglass Mineral Veil Translucent powder. It just makes sure everything stays in place. I like using the Pat McGrath Nude Venus Permagel Ultra Lip Pencil to line my lips. This combination with the lipstick, also in the Nude Venus, works very beautifully. And then sometimes I use the Nude Venus lip gloss when I want a more muted gloss. This creates a beautiful, neutral, natural lip shade. Today I am going to use a more sparkly lip gloss. I like going in with the Gold Allure Lust Gloss lip gloss from Pat McGrath. I have a 15% discount code, Stella, for this eyeshadow palette. It's the Natasha Denona Golden Eyeshadow Palette, and it's my go-to for any glam eyeshadow looks. I start off with the color Flesh on a big fluffy blender brush, and then I just blend it all over the lid, the upper lid, just above the crease, close to the lash line, and I blend it under the eyes as well. Then I go in with Aria and I deepen up my crease with another blender brush. I think this one is a bit smaller. I do have a lot of blender brushes, so I can manage the size of that quite easily. But you don't need to use a smaller one. You can still use a big one. And then I just swap between the brushes and blend out the shade very well. Next, I go in with Log and I really deepen up the outer corner of the eye. I try to create the outer V with the dark shade and just blend it onto the outer part of the lid. I just swap between the brushes. I just go to the previous brush and blend out the shade that I worked with. And sometimes I just go to the top brush and blend out overall. I add a little bit of the Log under the eye as well, just to deepen up close to the lash line. I like using the Intensifies Artistry wand all over the lid before I apply a shimmery shade. This makes the shadow last all day. And then I go in with my favorite Nubia color. It's not only my favorite color in this palette, but just my favorite lid shade all over from all my palettes. I like the champagne-y color that it gives, and it has such a beautiful sparkle. I take a little bit of Aura on a small concealer brush and add that to the inner corner just to brighten up the inner eyes. And then I like using the NYX Epic Wear and Epic Ink eyeliners. The Epic Wear is great for waterlines and smudging eyeliner, or when I do a smoky, smudgy eyeshadow look. And then I use the NYX Epic Ink eyeliner for the winged eyeliner and just tight lining against the lashes. This is one of my favorite liquid eyeliners. I then go in with a mascara. I usually go with the Maybelline Sky High mascara. And then I just finish off my face makeup with a setting spray. This is a homemade one. My favorite one is the All Nighter setting spray from Urban Decay. And there's my look. So I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope to see you next time. Bye!